My name is Chris Hammond and I'm the Chief Executive of UK 100, a network of local government leaders across the UK who want to accelerate the net zero transition. Internationally, nationally and locally, the public sector is working to deliver net zero and take fair climate action. But it's not just the public sector that's leading the way. The private sector is stepping up. Around 90% of global GDP is now covered by a net zero target. But neither can do it on their own. We need to see the public sector and the private sector working together to help us get to net zero. Like Sustainable Ventures, which is working with councils across the country to unlock green growth and bring in sustainable investment that really helps drive economic prosperity. It's a really exciting initiative. I'd encourage others to look into it.
You'll be aware that Lambeth was the first London borough to declare a climate emergency in 2019. And the reason that we did that is because we could see from the climate crisis, the impacts are disproportionate on different sectors of our community. So those with the least money who could be less resilient to flood risk, to fuel poverty, probably the ones who had contributed least to the problem in the first place, were suffering disproportionately. But for me, what was really important, and for us as a council, is that we don't just take environmental action to reduce our carbon emissions, but we do it alongside social justice, so that we don't add to the inequalities that already exist, but through the lens of tackling the climate emergency, we tackle inequalities across our borough. We are a very unequal borough, like we're a very unequal city. And it's vital for us that when we invest and collaborate with partners, that we ensure that everybody's feeling the benefit of that, so that everybody is genuinely included. And so to be able to provide high-skilled jobs for local residents is critical for us and our ambition, so that every resident has an opportunity to thrive, so that we support local small businesses, so that we are a borough that is really becoming a borough of equity. I think also to be able to do that through climate tech work, it showcases that it's not a choice between taking climate action in regards to the climate emergency or creating jobs. We can do one at the same time. In fact, it's by growing the green economy that we create more jobs, and so that local residents and businesses can really grow in a way that is genuinely inclusive, and so that also our residents don't see climate action as something outside their lives, but something as integral to their lives as well. And so here I think we can demonstrate how we're leading on that in Lambeth with Sustainable Ventures and with all the startup techs here, where it's genuine inclusive local growth.
The journey with Lambeth started over 6 years ago, pre-pandemic, when we first identified this county hall as a site, and working really closely with Lambeth Council to sort of make that happen. And then 2021 moved into the third floor county hall, and we were very fortunate to have funding, economic resilience funding from Lambeth Council that funded business support programs. That's providing commercial advice and design advice to companies recovering from COVID. We're very much focused on the wider sort of climate emergency, and we're passionate about supporting climate tech businesses. We supported over 800 to date, and we're on track to support about 1,000 by the middle of next year. And one of the challenges we've got as we increasingly look at that sort of global emergency is how do you then relate that to the local environment? And that could be through affordable warmth, it could be through providing clean air, a whole range of different issues, like providing local jobs. So we're very passionate about creating jobs and in diversity of those jobs as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because tackling the climate crisis isn't just about reducing our carbon emissions, but how we do it really matters. As you say, it's about ensuring that everybody has access to the work that we're doing around the climate emergency. So whether that is through the work we're doing through retrofitting or through fuel poverty, It's also just as important, equally as important, that people have access to the new jobs that we're creating, to the careers that we're creating in that whole clean tech industry. It's about how far can we reach and looking at the myriad of ways in which we can be more inclusive.
But it's not just about carbon emission reduction for us, it's the economic growth that we create and the potential of green jobs. With over 1,000 people working in this very building, plus many more that are peripheral to that, that ability to derive sort of economic growth, particularly at the moment, is a very important side of things. Economic growth is absolutely vital. To us, that's always been the story we've tried to sell. We talk about sort of commercial innovation, we talk about growth of companies, and the jobs, both direct, like working in the entrepreneurships, and indirect in terms of the installer base, heat pump installers, things like that are delivering value to all the residents in this borough. And that's sort of that wider impact is absolutely important to us.
Yeah, for us, that is precisely why you're such a natural partner for us in this amazing building, County Hall, that was once the seat of London government and lay disused for so many years, to then invest in it from our future workspace fund, putting in our 1.5 million to go from that to become Europe's leading climate tech hub is just a phenomenal story and shows the power of what we can do when we collaborate and put private together with public and really show innovation at its best. So for us as a council, it's really vital that we commit to reducing our own carbon emissions, but our role is much bigger than that. We are leaders of place and conveners of people and organisations. And so we formed the Climate Action Partnership, of which Sustainable Ventures is a partner, in order that we could come together and collaborate and learn from each other and share best practice and about how we can all together reduce our carbon emissions across the piece and how we can innovate around that. And so we saw an opportunity with Sustainable Ventures to put in investment from the Economic Resilience Fund in order to be able to co-create with you a programme around innovation. And I think that that's what led to the Lambeth Innovation Challenge.
Yeah, that's right. We were very fortunate because to me, the building is one thing, but I'm more interested in the people in the building. And therefore, how can we help them gain access to markets, and particularly local markets? And so we were very fortunate that the Lambeth Economic Resilience Fund funded both direct support, but also spawned the Innovation Challenge, which is now, we completed two rounds of that. And that's set a really good sort of pilot that we can now roll out across the rest of the country.
And it also helps us because it isn't just introducing maybe smaller businesses to larger anchor institutions such as the BFI, Kia Oval, the South Bank Centre, but it also means that we can learn as the project proceeds, and because we can learn how we need to be more agile or respond to different areas of challenge. So it enables that whole learning loop for all of us, as well as creating innovation, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And also, I mean, from our point of view, the involvement of Lambeth Council brought a lot of credibility, particularly given we're an SME and we're supporting SMEs. And sometimes it's quite difficult when they're engaging with large corporates who are naturally sort of risk averse, and therefore you basically de-risk it for the whole of the community. Yeah, so in addition to innovation being really exciting for large organisations, it actually delivers direct benefits. So one example of that, St Thomas St Guy's basically engaged with a window insulation company, and by implementing they basically delivered economic savings and reduced their energy bills, which frees up more money to be spent on direct healthcare.
Yeah, and I mean, if you imagine a building like St Thomas's Hospital, how many windows are there? So the impact is going to be huge for them. And what's exciting is partnering up a small innovator here who's got doing all the research on the latest technology and how to really be sustainable, and to match them up with a huge organisation in the borough, one that is tackling health inequalities as well for us as a borough and a council, and so that's really exciting.
Yeah, so another example of that is the National Theatre. So you can imagine at the National Theatre how much water they use in their flushing loos. So we introduced them to a company called Propel Air that does basically air flush toilets, saving them a huge amount of money. It was a really good example. I caught up with the founder the other day who said National Theatre then told the National Festival Hall, so anybody else who used large amounts of toilets were then putting orders in, and that kind of word of mouth sort of spread. So I'm not saying they were sort of one toilet at a time across the South Bank. So soon you won't be able to go and use a conventional toilet anywhere in the South Bank, which is I think is a brilliant sort of vision that we have as well.
If you look at how you affect change, we can only do it if we do it together. And I think that's particularly true in times of real challenge and difficulty, which we're facing economically now as a country. As a council, we have faced austerity measures now for 14 years. So we feel that ourselves and public services have been stripped to the bones. So we have to think very differently about how we do things. And I stood as a leader on a platform of racial justice, social justice and climate justice. And they feel like huge ambitions at a time when there isn't very much money around. So I think that when we bring private and public together, we know that we can make things happen. If we can take the risk at the same time as well, and as you say, stand by organisations and say we are going to invest in this, then together that helps de-risk the project so that others will come in and support it as well. It does take us to be able to really trust each other and collaborate and work together. But when we see a project like this and such a successful programme and series of programmes at County Hall at Sustainable Ventures, I think you can see it really is worth taking the risk.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the Lambeth Innovation Programme really demonstrates that. So over 64% of large European companies have a net zero quantified target. So there is definitely ambition from the private sector to get involved and decarbonise, but nobody wants to be the first person to implement a new innovation, but they're very happy to sort of follow on. So I think, we see that, that kind of public-private partnership is absolutely vitally important, not just in terms of the contribution that you can make from your limited resources, but actually your involvement and de-risking the whole thing.
Yeah, because we know that public money alone cannot tackle the climate crisis. We have to do it together with the private and the public. And so we have to work out what our unique roles are in that collaboration and both bring our powers to the table so that you can pull the levers that you can pull, I can pull the levers that I can pull, so that we get more bang for our buck and get better outcomes in the end. And I think also what we can demonstrate to government and to big investors out there is value for money and how we really can get the outcomes that everyone's looking for, whether that be around employment and skills, whether that be around tackling climate change or building sustainable homes fit for the future or supporting local businesses. That when we have that collaboration, it really does get the outcomes that we all want to see.
Recognising that the challenge of climate change is a global one, we've taken the next step and have taken investment that we're now applying to grow across the UK. So we're replicating into this space into a similar space in Manchester and then ultimately into Glasgow and pretty much across the rest of the regions. But what we have learned from the experience working with Lambeth is you can't just replicate what works here. It's very important to look at sort of local needs, local skills, local expertise. So Manchester, for example, is great on sort of new materials and things like that, which relates to its universities. So being able to say we work with that kind of stuff, and then we work with the GMCA and local council of how do we take this and basically adapt what we do here to meet the needs of the local communities and the regional communities. Do you think that there are opportunities for the success story we've built here to be replicated across other boroughs?
I absolutely do. I think that the success story here, which is still growing and has more success to come, by the way, as you and I both know, can absolutely be replicated across the capital. If we look at our Lambeth Strategic Partnership and all the different players and partners in that, we look at the potential for us all to come together and tackle the challenges, not just that we have now, but the challenges of the future. And we're going to have to do that more and more. And currently we're writing the London Growth Plan with Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. And at the heart of it is how the public and private can come together, to work together, to innovate, so that we can all tackle the challenges that we know lie ahead, and they are huge and they can sometimes feel overwhelming. And that's where I think our partnership can really be important, is so that we can work out together how we can do that and ensure that the growth that we have is inclusive and includes our local residents, includes those furthest away from the employment market, includes those who never thought they could be an entrepreneur or start a small business, and includes those who didn't think that tackling the climate emergency was something for them. So I think making it real to people's lives is absolutely vital and fundamental, so that we can all bring our different parts to the table, because we know that what we can create together is much greater than what we can create on our own.